Good morning, everyone. Hi.
Good
Is Kyle
morning.
ready?
What up?
Your camera's off, Kyle.
It's not. He's there.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Literally on my end, I do not see Kyle. I see his name. I don't see
I don't see him either. He's a ghost.
He is.
Oh, there he is.
All right, now I feel good. Now I'll say, oh, no, he's gone.
He'll be back. He'll be back.
I'll wait till he gets back and then we'll get started.
Shenanigans happening here. First thing.
Yeah, okay. We're all used to this, right? This is how things roll. It's technology or lack thereof.
It keeps me busy. Just keeping me on my toes in the morning. Now I can't see him.
No, I can't see him either. It's like he's trying to get on board. All right, here we are. Okay. Now we've got everything.
Yay!
Sorry about that. I overloaded my computer.
No, we were just laughing. You know, it's technology. We're all used to it, so no worries. So good morning. Here we are at the Juice. And I'd like to just welcome everybody who's watching and welcome anybody who's going to watch later. I'm Laurie Supinski with Start Garden, and I will introduce our panelists this morning. We have Janay Brower from Public Thread. We have Kyle VanStrien from Long Road Distillers and Kristian Grant from Game Plan. And of course, Murphy from Start Garden, who is our technology wizard. So
don't say that right after the technology didn't work.
No worries.
I'm trying.
No, and it's obviously not you. But yeah, so this morning we're revisiting. Actually, Janay and Kyle were here really early on last year when we started doing the Juice virtually. Kristian is a new panelist this time, but we're just going to talk about what's been going on in the last year. When Janay and Kyle were both on, both of them in their businesses had pivoted really pretty quickly to adapting to some of the issues that were going on with COVID. And we're going to talk about those pivots. And then Kristian is an entrepreneur in the community, involved in a lot of things. And during this whole time, she actually launched a new product. So I think it would be really interesting to hear a little bit about that. Like, how do you, what is your mindset when you're launching a new product during like a global pandemic? So I think all those things will be really interesting to talk about. So why don't we get started? I'm going to have each one of you kind of introduce yourself, give us a little bit of background of, what's been going on in the last year, and then we'll just chat. And if anybody who's watching has any questions, Murphy will bring them up and we can address those. Any questions for individual panelists or whatever, comments. So let's start out with Kyle.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me back. Apparently I didn't say anything too crazy last time around. Yeah, my name's Kyle Vinstreen. I'm the co-owner, co-founder of Long Road Distillers. We're headquartered here in Grand Rapids, where we have a distillery, production distillery, warehouse, bar and restaurant. We also have a bar and restaurant in Grand Haven, Michigan. And we've recently moved a tasting room from Boyne City, Michigan. We're opening a new tasting room and cocktail bar in Charlevoix. So a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. And it's hard to believe that it's been almost a year since things were shut down here in Michigan. I believe it'll be end of next week when we'll celebrate that milestone. But yeah, it's been quite a year. I think you mentioned that we did this, what was it, April or May of last year? That was kind of still really early on, where we still didn't know how long to expect things to last. I think we were pretty optimistic early on that things would get cleared up. And obviously that hasn't been the case. But I would say we're pretty bullish on how things are looking right now and coming into the warmer weather months. And I'm, grateful for all of the sacrifices that folks have made to get us to this point. And yeah, I think some of the business changes that we've made, obviously last time we talked about the pivot to making hand sanitizer, and kind of discontinuing making spirits for about a month. And we were able to produce several thousand gallons of sanitizer that we were able to sell or donate to essential workers and businesses, frontline folks. And that was awesome. It was awesome to keep our production team working, keep some of our other staff employed during that point. And then kind of several months later, we were able to work with both the cities of Grand Haven and Grand Rapids to move pretty quickly on outdoor seating and allowing for our restaurants to reopen at a very limited capacity. For us, we didn't offer indoor seating last summer, even though we were allowed to. We chose to simply just do outdoor seating. We felt like that was better for our team and for our guests. We tried to provide a great experience still, although it was very different. We learned a lot of things and learned what not to do going into this summer. And then gradually tried to shift back into indoor dining late fall and early winter last year. And as we know, that didn't last long. And all of our locations have been takeout only since November 17. So right now we're looking at reopening our Grand Rapids location at 50% starting a week from Friday. We're excited about the opportunity to open again for the last time. We hope that this can be the last time. And, we've taken our time. Restaurants have been able to have 25% capacity since the beginning of February. And we decided not to do that. Partially because it's hard financially to operate at 25%, but also we wanted to give it a little bit of time to see, where things trended. Things were trending in a positive way. I guess I shouldn't say positive, but in a good way at that point, and things have continued to trend better. So I think we're comfortable. I think that more and more people, as more and more folks are vaccinated, feel more comfortable going out. And so we're just trying to, continue to keep people safe and offer a good experience as we try to do this one last time. And we're already looking forward to warmer weather months and outdoor seating again and all of that. But yeah, a lot of great collaborations, not just with sanitizer, but about the time we reopened last summer, we started the Michigan Restaurant Promise with mostly a core group of Grand Rapids restaurant operators, but it included over 600 different establishments from around the state, which was a really awesome thing where we committed to our guests and to our employees that we were going to follow the guidance from the health departments and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and commit to cleaning protocols and safety measures and masking. And we've seen a lot of really positive things come out of that collaboration. And honestly, it's good for the soul to work with other people, just to bounce ideas off of them. We have a little text thread with about a dozen different restaurant owners in Grand Rapids that we're leaning on each other on a daily basis. And, we're of similar mind and philosophy when it comes to operating safely and in the best interest of our team. And so I think that's been really good for us, really helpful personally to find that support with other entrepreneurs.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Kyle. You said a couple of things I want to come back to, so we'll keep going and then we'll come back around. Kristian.
Yeah, good morning. So my name is Kristian Grant. I have been a bit of a serial entrepreneur in Grand Rapids for, I think, as long as I've been old enough to officially claim that title. And timing is always so funny. Life is just funny. But for about 3 years almost, joined the Art Prize team and had a ton of fun over there. But in the fall of 2019, I still just had the entrepreneur itch and wanted to go back full time to working for myself. So I left the Art Prize team and was really excited about 2020 was a big year. We had plans to start a few development projects. So had purchased some property within Grand Rapids and working on, for the very first time, becoming a developer, right? I was really excited to have such a grown-up title and to get started. And then COVID happened. And slowly I just started seeing like my contracts and everything that we had lined up just disappearing or falling apart. And for me, that was interesting because I was taking on something brand new in the first place, something that I knew was going to be really hard and challenging. And then COVID just added another layer to that. So my partner and I just kept buying property because that was the only reasonable thing to do during a pandemic. And so we're finally starting to see those projects come back online. In the meantime, another thing that made sense to me was to bring back a product that I had but kind of put on the shelf, which was my planner. So it's a 12-month planner for entrepreneurs called the Game Plan. But also, as I'm trying to learn this new industry with construction and real estate, I decided to start a business that handled closings for loan signings, any type of purchases or sales or refis. My company handles closings for those, just so I could be abreast of what is happening, what's still moving, looking at the interest rates and the kind of deals that were happening. So that has actually become one of my most successful businesses while we went through this boom with interest rates and things. But it also just kept me sitting down with contractors every day, seeing the deals that they're putting together, seeing what it looked like, how their prices were rising or falling. So the last year has been extremely crazy. I think Murphy was mentioning just seeing the memories from a year ago or 2 years ago, and I'm getting my memories where we're like, we're gonna build, a laundromat, we're gonna do all these things. And April 1st was officially the date that I started doing loan closings, and so it feels like a lifetime since last year. But I've been able to learn so much. But learning more, what all entrepreneurs know, you have to just roll with the punches. Thinking about what could have been doesn't really get us too far. This year has just been teaching me to figure out, okay, I had 10 things, life took away 5. What can we make with with the 5 that we have here?
So true. Absolutely. Janay, you guys have had a lot going on.
Ooh. I just want to say that Kristian, man, like I have known you since so long ago when you were at United Way. Like I think you might have been like 14 or something, working there as a professional, and then you started your clothing shop, and you've just been doing so many cool things over the years, and I'm just super impressed. So nice work, man, staying in the game and doing the thing, like, and now being in real estate and all that, that's intense. So I just want to give you like a fist bump from over here, because you've been knocking it. You have been knocking it for a long time, man. Like really impressive. And your calendar and planner is so good. Like I got it a few years ago, and it really is a great planner, and it's perfect for entrepreneurs. It's because you're all oriented towards that. So it's just nice work. Like just doing all the different things, because people try to put you in a hole and be like, you can only do this one thing. Even if you're an entrepreneur, it's like, oh, well, you have to get really good at, no, you can do all these different things. You got all kinds of talent. So just love it.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that shout out. And I'm just so excited to be here with both of you, because I have watched your businesses grow and flourish, and I learn a lot from watching that.
Oh, girl, I'm still learning. I'm actually here to learn. So this has been a journey, but now that I've become an entrepreneur these last few years, I have mad respect for people who are able to stay in that and keep doing it and, pivot as needed. So big props for sure. Janay Brower, and I'm with Public Thread. And I didn't hear what the question was to begin with. I'm assuming it's just kind of like a basic check-in because my Wi-Fi was just decided to completely go nuts there for about 10 minutes. So I did miss some of the intro. So sorry about that. If I asked a question you've already answered. So we started, so we were mad struggling. Like as of February of last year, we were down to 3 staff, barely. I was like, okay, we're going to have to, shut down production entirely. It was hard. It was really bad. And I don't always share that out loud with people because I'm like, my burdens are mine. But the reality is we were in a really tough spot. And then COVID hit and it was like, okay, this might be the perfect opportunity for us to just do that deep rootedness and do the assessment about where we are and where we can go and get a chance to breathe. And then, a week later, Lisa Knight called me and we were both like, we're hearing we need to make masks. And we're hearing, oh my God, this is a crisis. And we were like, let's do this. So, within 7 days, we brought together a huge network of people. It was incredible because over 200 people volunteered within a 48-hour time span to sew masks for us, come and pick up materials, to do it in their homes, to do it here in the shop. But what was really incredible was really just that we were already set up as a manufacturing, we're trying to build the manufacturing infrastructure so that people can actually make products here in our community, pay living wages, do so thoughtfully about caring about the environment in the process, really relocalize production. And so this is what we were trying to do. And then when this existing system broke down, so the system of really utilizing global production and relying on these massive supply chains, around the world, when that broke down, we were able to step in. So we were already here. And our whole focus is how do we look around and better lift up and support what we already have. And so we had already collected materials that just happened to be perfect for making masks. And so I think, as we know that, what we know now is that we don't know what's coming. We have to kind of expect the unexpected. And this is kind of really honing our skills in that space. I would say for Public Thread acutely, but of course for the world, we're all having to go what do I really want to do with my time? Who do I really want in my life? How am I going to operate? What are the things that I want to see happen here? This is my chance to step back and really figure this shit out. And so we have always been about how do we maximize and support what we already have, but also really encourage and uplift talent because we have a lot of talent in our community. And what was so fantastic about the COVID's happening, because there was not a lot of great things about it, was that we were able to bring together so many people. We kept, over 25 people working each month for 4 months during the height of the orders. We were making over 1,000 masks a day. We were safe about it, so no one came down with anything. We never had one instance of it. And so we just created this opportunity to build a community, to network and to really showcase that we actually have the materials here. We have the equipment, the machinery, the know-how, the design capability, and the talent. And so really we were that conduit to bring all of those things together. And it was incredible. And, we did have a year where we, tripled our revenue from the year before. That has very much slowed down. And so that as so many different companies came into the marketplace and started making masks, and then of course, as the global supply chain opened up, now everyone can get a cheap mask anywhere. And so those that continue to support us are those that really believe in that local production. They believe in people being paid living wages right here. They believe in that environmental sustainability component as being part of the bottom line. And so, we continue to make masks, but we have definitely, this past fall, we launched a collection, our transit collection, where we were able to create and design and develop and manufacture products that a few different products that can do a multitude of things. And so our focus really always has been on how do we create really beautiful products that people want to use, that have an incredible value chain behind them. So when you get and you purchase that product from us, you are actually, you're putting your values into action. You're putting your money where your mouth is. And so I think we created some really cool things that can do a multitude of things as well. They can serve in a variety of different ways in your life, so that we can have fewer products in our lives. We can have fewer things in our lives that can do more. So that's really the direction we're going. We're developing a whole bunch of new lines, new product lines that are going to take us into new industries. So like, cross your fingers because this shit's hard and it's super expensive, and marketing is not a joke. Like, to be able to be a presence in the marketplace, it takes a lot. And I have just like a lot of admiration for those companies out there that are hustling to get the word out and get their brands into stores, because man, this stuff is intense.
Yeah. Janay, I bought a couple of your laptop sleeves as Christmas gifts. And then I got one for myself. It's like so awesome. It's just like the perfect, simple product, but cool fabrics. I bought a bunch of different colors, and it's great. I love what you guys are doing. So everybody said something. I think kind of a theme is how entrepreneurs really need to be resilient. Obviously, that's just the nature of entrepreneurship in general. I think you go into entrepreneurship thinking, I'm going to control what I do. This is my business, I'm in control. But in reality, you're never really fully in control. So you have to be able to pivot, react, be resilient, push forward, all those good things. And obviously, you guys have all done that. I think the other thing I'd like to talk about a little bit is how community has played a role this year in a lot of what businesses have done. And Janay, you were talking about, at the early outset, you were going gangbusters, and then, other people started making masks. And, but I want to believe that as a result of all this, that it has made people start to realize the value of supporting local business. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Is that just a passing fancy, or is that something that we really are going to take to heart moving forward? And anybody?
I'll jump in really quickly, but then I want to hear from you guys, because you have very local customer-facing businesses. But I think that this is going to be a real struggle. So you have your core group of diehard people who are about their community. They're really deeply ingrained in their community. So they have those relationships with the local business owners, and they will continue to support. But also on a global perspective, if you pay attention even to the stock market, right? Like, that's become my new morning stop every morning. You see these global retailers who have just made money hand over fist because we were all confined to our homes and they could drop a box at our doorsteps, right? So what does that mean when we're all able to go outside again, but we've become accustomed to having everything at our fingertips, So we've seen so many, just across the country, so many mom and pop shops have to close down, and people becoming more reliant on Amazon. I mean, look at Amazon stock. It's down right now and it's over $3,000. Like, you've seen that. So I think that it has to be a concerted effort. It has to be a call on that community that does exist to really, when we come out of this, make it an intentional thing to spend money local. And it can't just be the business owners who are calling for that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's a great point. Early on, I think that folks were really gung-ho about supporting local and, getting takeout from your local restaurants and supporting them in the summer when you could. But man, it's been really hard. We had, I think we do have those diehard folks that are still committed to that, and maybe we gained a few more diehards who are committed to that. But I think there was just this fatigue over time of the businesses saying, come on, we need your support, we need your support, we need your support. And I think you're right. It can't always be the businesses saying that. It has to come from somewhere else too. And it has to actually mean something to the person doing it for them to continue that long term. Part of it is just a place like ours, our establishment's not set up to, provide a great takeout experience. We don't have a drive-through window. We don't work with third-party delivery companies and things like that because we can't make any money doing that. And it's just like the experience is lost. And so drive-through restaurants have killed, restaurants that were set up for takeout have done a really good job. And, we had people that were super gracious on the front end, and then it just wasn't what they used to have, and they wanted that. And so they'd get frustrated and take it out on employees. And, a lot of times it's the first point of contact for a guest coming in is the least experienced person in an establishment. And they were having to deal with these super complicated arguments that a guest might be having about, well, why do I have to wear a mask to get to my table? Or why do I have to do this? Or why can't it just be the way that it was? Well, it's not my, I'm not the one that said that it has to be this way. If it were up to me, none of this would be happening right now. And so I think there was just this fatigue from consumers over time. And I do think that there's been a shift, and it may be a permanent shift in how folks go out and enjoy themselves, how people support local businesses, retail or otherwise. But my hope is that, once we get over this hump and, there's more folks are vaccinated, there's more immunity in the community, the weather warms up, I'm hoping that there's this like glut of energy that wants to go out and support local businesses again. And there's people going to be excited about that. I hope there's pent up demand. We're counting on it, right? And so I hope that we see some of that. But unfortunately, we've just seen a lot of the frustration that people have with everything, politics, health, everything.
Right.
Yeah, I totally concur with what both of them have said. I mean, this is like, we don't know where we're going next, with the idea that everything has been so on-demand delivery. And, we have gotten used to being able to do 2 clicks. I mean, just even trying to look at like our website redo and like how many clicks people come through and like how people come in. And if they don't see what they want in like less than 10 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever it is, you've lost them. And I'm just like, oh my God, we got to push back a little. And I mean, this is a lot. The hard thing about this is that there's a lot of money. There are billions and billions of dollars, and almost every industry that is deeply embedded in this model of capitalism, which is about this constant growth, this in front of you all the time, this sell. And so I think, while I'm not trying to be super meta on this, there's some real pushback that we have to do with ourselves around the existing systems and believing that somehow none of us have the capacity to like hang on for a second and just learn or listen, or have the patience to navigate that local businesses might not have resources of like a major global corporation, and just like hang with us, like walk with us. Let's build that community. Let's figure these things out together, because these things are imperfect, and the things that last are the things that are going to take a little time. Much the same as the struggle that we are going to continue to be in. It's like to be anti-racist, to try and build systems that are based in racial equity. Those things don't happen over freaking night. And I mean, we got to stay in that work. We got to keep pushing. We got to keep asking and saying, you know what, if you want local businesses to thrive, if you want these entities here, if you want these resources to be cultivated within our community, so that when you go outside on the weekends, you have a whole bunch of stuff to do because you've been supporting a vibrant community. We are resilient. We do have the resources and the talent here. We do have everything we need here. But we need to be willing to push away some of that noise and that idea that we have to have it right now and actually really invest and hang with it. You know, like if we want this, we've got to work for it. So, and I mean, I'm in here kind of begging because like, man, the struggle is real. We are in a precarious time. And I know there are a ton of other entrepreneurs in the community that are struggling when you have employees and you have people to worry about. It's not just you. You know, like if these things these can't just live. There's not some magic fairy somewhere that's going to come in and just keep us around. You know, that's just, we do need to continue to kind of stand with each other and invest. And when we have those resources available, or when we do need to do something, we need a service, we need a product, to really look around and do some Googling, you know, like who's here, who's doing what, like, you know, and how can we partner and share with each other? You know, how can we help build each other? And if we're using a vendor and we love what they're doing locally, like share it with other people and continue to speak on those partnerships and those opportunities so people can continue to find the resources that are here and utilize them. So I'm hopeful, but damn, man, this is real stuff.
Yeah.
Can I just make a quick comment on that too? Because Janay, I think you're so right about the pushback, but it's like a pushback on everything that has changed in our lives. So, you know, you see people who have been working from home, and at first it was okay, but then it just meant that you're in 3 virtual meetings at the same time, and you don't take lunch, and you don't have time to go shop, even though you're at home all day. So all you have is 2 clicks, right? Like, so life has changed. You know, for us as the problem solver, for someone, we're solving their problem, but their problems have evolved throughout COVID as well. And just what does life look like? You know, you see so many people saying like, I work more because at 7 a.m. I'm sitting down at my computer, and at 9 p.m. I'm back logged on. And so bosses are expecting more. And that means that people's fuse with us as the business is shorter as well. Their bosses want things right now, and so they want things from us right now. Like, so I think that if we don't collectively push back on things like that, this is going to change the way everything looks for forever. And if you talk about capitalism, that actually feeds into, it's like, oh, we were able to speed up. Like, we were able to speed up how much capitalism has changed everything, you know, over this last year. So it is really a shift of either as a business owner saying, how do I fit into that? Or am I willing to create this collective that's going to push back?
Love that, and would love to continue this conversation forever, because that is fantastic, and I really appreciate that additional layer of awareness about people's realities, that they are there. I mean, I have been in person this whole time, so I've always felt like, you know, I'm not understanding what it's like to sit there and be on Zoom all day. And there have been days where I have been at home doing Zoom meetings and I'm like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. Like, you don't have the capacity, even though I've been out here in the middle of COVID physically with other people, sort of in the danger zone or whatever. And so that has been my reality, which has, you know, been different from so many. So I do appreciate that. And I think you're absolutely right. Pushing against all of this is completely necessary, because that kind of stuff is violent. It's violent to have to do all of those things at once. It's violent to not have enough time to like search for your basic needs and have to rely on, you know, not being able to get your own groceries because you have to hire someone because you just literally don't have time. Like, that sucks. And to me, that's not okay. So I see both ends of that, and I appreciate you adding that in.
Those are great points, and I'm going to make one more point, and then I know Murphy said we have a question. You know, you guys are talking about the fact that, you know, you don't have time to do things, but I think another interesting point is that people are afraid. So it's not just I don't have time. It's like I'm afraid to go out. I'm literally now fighting some internal anxiety. I'm afraid to go to a restaurant. I'm afraid to go get my groceries. You know, so, I mean, you know, there's a lot of talk right now with vaccines becoming more readily available and things opening back up. Like, what is what is the reentry into society going to look like for people? Because there's fear. You've forgotten how to socialize. You're afraid of it. I mean, there's so many factors. It's crazy. Murphy, what?
Yes, we do have a question. How do we create a too essential to fail movement in support of small businesses so they get the same benefits as large companies?
You know what? I've been giving some thought to this, and Janay mentioned, like, how does a small business also, I just want to give a quick shout out to Nadia and her new amazing business. I have reservations in like 2 weeks, so I'm really excited about that. But Janay mentioned, like, how does a small business in Grand Rapids, Michigan battle the marketing of, you know, this national or global business? Like, how do we do these things? And through the changes of COVID, I've hired more people than I've ever hired before, but I've also been like a one-man team at sometimes as well. So as much as you're, you know, outsourcing, you're also doing it all yourself, and it's just not feasible, but it's real. Like, there's an ebb and a flow to all of that. And so it's like figuring out marketing has been brutal, like, because everyone's marketing online right now and everyone's just screaming at buy this, go here, do that. And so I think like creating collectives where someone has figured out like this one channel or this one thing, whether it's marketing or distributing or all these other things, and being able to collectively put your dollars together and, you know, figure out or leverage those dollars. Like, you know what, instead of our individual bills being $15,000, let's negotiate and each business puts in $8,000 and we get, you know, that's just an example. But it's just like, if everyone's trying to recreate the wheel on our own, it's stressful. Some of us are going to burn out. Some of us are going to fall off. And we're not fighting against, but our competition is so much larger than us when you look at it on a global scale.
I'm just constantly like what Kristian said. 100% totally, because we know that to get the word out about like what we do, because it's different. It's not the same as what everyone else is making, to talk about upcycled, to talk about materials that are scrap and surplus, that it's not trash, that it's not dirty, it's not been used, you know, like how to speak and understand the language, the connection points, how to really break through the clutter, to think divergently in a system that's all going one way. You know, you have to pay for that level of expertise. And marketing in particular is the way that you tell your story. It's the way that you connect with people. And I mean, I can talk about this, but I'm like a long run-on sentence for 45 minutes. Like, oh, you want to know about my business? You know, but I need someone who can distill that shit and bring it down to like a couple sentences. And again, you know, to your point, I need to be able to get the level of talent that understands where I'm trying to go on a national level to sell our products. But that's expensive, and we want to pay. Honestly, we want to honor the work that it takes to do that. And so we would absolutely be interested in pooling dollars for back-end support. I mean, same thing around accounting, you know, around business operations, around taxes, around legal, around, you know, how do you protect your brand when you're going nationally? Like, you got to have all these things you got to go through. But I can't afford to have, you know, someone doing all of these things that you have to have, you know, HR support, doing like all the things. Like, I would be so I think that really, for me, I'm with Kristian on this. Like, that's kind of like, how do you build a small business system that is resilient? Because when you're supporting each other and you're recognizing that the talent and the expertise in any one of these areas is expensive, you got to put that money together and then help benefit so many businesses, because we wouldn't be able to have someone on full time to do some of those things, you know, but, you know, 5 hours a week, whoa, game changer for us, for sure. So yeah, absolutely. Banding together, and again, realizing we have everything we need. We just need to kind of work together and connect it is definitely something we would be very interested in.
And
Kyle,
I'm gonna say this and then I'm quiet. But because have you guys ever hired someone and you've paid those big dollars and then like like you paid all that money and you were expecting a certain thing, but because you're a small client or whatever, like you don't have the manpower yourself to be like, this sucked. Like what you gave me sucked. And I worked really hard to pay you for that. Like I didn't pay myself so that I could pay you, right? And so there's just power in a collective because there have been many times where, I'll be calling around like, am I being unreasonable? Like, is this what a CPA does or no? Like, so, I think that it's the financial support of the collective, but also the emotional because when you're sitting at home by yourself trying to figure, is this reasonable? Is it not? Like, that's really soul sucking as well.
Mhm. Yeah, Kyle, I was going to ask you about, you talked about you've got sort of like a core group of restaurant owners that have kind of worked with each other through this whole time. How has that helped you guys? Because I mean, like you said, you weren't really set up necessarily to pivot to takeout, and a lot of restaurants weren't, and a lot of restaurants were scrambling to do that. They didn't have the right point of sale systems, all that good stuff. So maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think for us, the support that group offers us isn't necessarily a financial benefit. It's certainly an emotional and business benefit because, bouncing ideas off of each other about, what point of sale are you using? What reservation system are you using? How are you handling this type of an employee issue? It's not necessarily a collective of business services that we have, but there is some non-professional business advice, legal, HR, and otherwise that is happening. How do we interpret this new restriction from Department of Health and Human Services? How do we implement this? What signage do we need to display? There's a constant flow of information that we have to digest, and a lot of us just go to that group to figure it out together. It takes us all so much less time if we have someone like Rich App from the city and the chamber on there who can kind of play the go-between from the local and state level, and also help us figure out what do these things mean for us. And there's some people on this thread that have years of experience in the industry and know more than I do, and so that's been a great kind of mentoring and support relationship. So it's not necessarily financial, although we have partnered with folks like the Mitten and Malamaya Juice Bar to provide some products that we may not have offered before. So some juice and spirit kits to go, where it's just really easy, something you can make at home. 2 ingredients. We want to make things as easy and convenient as possible. If we've learned anything, it's that convenience is king. And just like Janay was saying, with 2 clicks, you have to make it so simple. So if it's a drink in a can that you can just pour over ice, that's what people want right now. They don't want to think about things. Whereas in the beginning of the pandemic, our cocktail kits crushed. People were home and they were bored and they were looking for things to do. And so making a couple cocktails from scratch really appealed to people, and learning that skill. Not anymore. They might still have the time, but they're not interested in spending it on new talents. And so trying to adjust to that. And, we've shifted to doing cocktails to go in cans. We also have canned cocktails. They're 2 different things legally, but in terms of what the consumer sees, they're the same. But we've offered both now. And so, trying to adjust to consumer demands while also partnering with our friends that we believe in the city has been an important thing for us. And I think to go back to something that Janay and Kristian were talking about, it's no longer enough to be local. That used to be enough. But now you have to be able to tell the story. Like, why is local better? I don't know. It might not be better. The product might not be better. But when you go into, well, here's why we buy our grain locally. Here's why we buy as many of our ingredients from Michigan businesses as possible. We think it provides something that's unique and exceptional while also supporting the local economy, and how can we start to not just push products in people's faces, but how do we tell a story that gets people engaged and involved? I think that's the next phase of marketing that Janay's great at, because she can talk about where everything came from and how it impacts everybody, and that's where I think all of us need to shift to, because it's not enough to just be local. That doesn't work anymore.
During this whole time, it's been really interesting. Obviously, Start Garden, we see and talk to entrepreneurs every day, all the time. And clearly, a lot of entrepreneurs were hurting during this past year and will continue to try to dig themselves out. And unfortunately, we've seen some businesses go under that will probably never come back. But at the same time, it's been remarkable to see almost like a surge of entrepreneurship, or people that want to enter into entrepreneurship and start their own businesses. And it's, you got to say, wow, I mean, that's amazing. And why are people feeling that way? Like, have they had a moment to step back and say, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it? Or, life is too short. Now's the time. I'm just kind of curious to hear your thoughts on that, because I do see a lot of, we're seeing a ton of new ideas and new movement in the entrepreneurial space. So it's kind of fascinating to me. Anybody?
Yeah, I think that COVID has been kind of an earthquake for people in terms of their careers, or what they thought their career was. It's shaken things up, and I think it's given people permission to think differently about what they do, what their vocation is, on a day-to-day basis. And for better or worse, I think it's given people more permission to fail, or to try and to fail. My wife and I both own small businesses, and so this was a really scary time for us. Lots of uncertainty. I think thankfully I'm better at compartmentalizing some of the stress of that. But for folks who can't, man, what a stressful time and a really difficult time to be in any industry, but especially a public-facing industry. And I think the thing we kept going back to is we're not the only ones facing this right now. Everyone is going through this right now. And so it's okay. We're going to hit speed bumps. This is obviously the biggest hurdle that most businesses have ever faced. And we're all going over it together. And so it's okay. It's okay if we don't make it. Let's just do our best. Let's try to pivot where we can. Let's try to meet the consumer where they're at, and we'll see where it shakes out.
Yeah, I think, and you guys all brought up this point too. And I think it's hard right now for entrepreneurs, because as we are feeling more hopeful, we also realize that the landscape has changed, and you all kind of talked about that. And so, moving forward, how do you really plan? How do you market? What are people's appetites going to be for, consumable products and going places and services? And it puts everybody in a really interesting position of trying to figure out what are people going to want moving forward, because it's not the same. It's probably not the same as when you started your business. So how do you adjust to that? You have to use your best instincts. You have to, leverage other people in the industry, kind of bounce things off other entrepreneurs. But yeah, it is a really interesting time. So, yeah, I don't know what again, pushing forward and thinking about new people. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have entered the space of entrepreneurship right now because they're solving problems. They're seeing new issues that have come up as a result of COVID and what's happening in the world. And they're like, wait, I might be able to, what I was thinking about might be able to help that. So there are new opportunities, I guess, is what I'm saying. Any thoughts?
I think what's also inspiring is that there are so many people that I think are starting to wake up to their own talents, are starting to wake up to like, I got, if other people are doing this, I can do this too, and you start to realize that I feel like there's a time of emergence right now where so many people are starting to, there's just so much more awareness around emotional intelligence, around, the ability to fail, the ability to struggle can be really present, and shared out in public with people, which allows others to go like, oh, I'm having some of those same feelings too. And it's like this collective care, and this mutual aid approach that has come through so much with COVID, where we kind of look around and go, it's okay, man, we're all struggling. It's okay to struggle. And like, it's almost like when we say it's okay to struggle, it's okay to not know, it's okay to be in pain. It allows people to actually feel. And I think so much of our humanity we've forgotten because we've been in the rat race. We've been chasing the dollar, because that's what you need to survive. But this sort of collective pause has allowed all of us to kind of take stock a little bit more in what is going on for us as humans. And we are humans, and, we're not machines, which is why so much of that oppressive idea of, constant glitter in your face and go, go, go is not sustainable. It's just not, it doesn't serve us well all the time. You can do it in fits, but you can't do it forever. So I love how much I've seen so many people in my world, both close to me and, so sort of far away, to see their emergence happen, where they're talking about so many more dimensions about who they are and how they live and the things they want. And that to me is really beautiful, because incredible creativity starts to come out when you honor who you are, the wholeness of who you are, the good, the bad, the ugly, because we all got it. And like, it doesn't feel like, oh, I have to like not be that. I have to be perfect all the time. This idea it's been shed a lot, I think, through this last year. But also there was a lot of work prior to that too, where there were healers out in the world. There are some amazing authors, speakers who have been talking about oppression and talking about the impacts of oppression for so long, in so many domains of our lives, that this was an opportunity for so many of those beautiful people to actually like have their voice be heard, because everyone had a moment to listen. I think of a young author and speaker and philosopher, Adrienne Marie Brown in Detroit, who wrote a book called Emergent Strategy. And I read that book a few years ago and was just like, dude, she's putting together so many incredibly complex things. And she's doing so in a way that honors, the struggles, the realities, the systems, the things that we're literally in, yet also frames up this concept of like how we can be different in the middle of it and then see the future to be different. And so I think, there's like a million people doing that same thing, where they're starting to speak on these deeper issues that are happening for all of us. Some we've had words for, some we haven't. She's also wrote another book after that called Pleasure Activism, and this idea of being able to actually celebrate who we are and honor who we are, all of the parts of us, while also advocating for change. And so, sometimes pleasure and having fun and enjoying your life and enjoying who you are in all your domains in the middle of struggle is some of the most divergent things that you can do to resist oppressive systems. So I'm working at it every day, but I think that this time has been really incredible, which is why I feel that need to push back on that constant go, go, go within my own business. And within myself, and then, in the spheres in which that I, navigate.
So let me ask each one of you then as sort of like a parting comment. Like what would you say is the most significant thing that you've learned, or the one takeaway out of this entire time that will stay with you moving forward, that this experience of this last year has done to have you maybe move forward in a different way? Kristian.
I think that I've had two lessons that were really the things I will take with me. The first was that I need to diversify in all areas of my life, like diversify my income streams, diversify my knowledge. And it's like this delicate balance of being an expert at something, but knowing enough to survive in other areas if you need to. But then, and this kind of correlates, I've learned that you have to delegate, you have to build your team if you're going to survive. But I still have to be knowledgeable about the work that they're doing, because at any moment I may need to jump in. And as much as I want my business to be really important to them, it's not as important to them as it is to me. And I have to be okay with that, because trying to make someone care as much as you do is just going to stress everyone out. So there are times where I've decided, like, how much am I going to invest in staff and train them and like really want to bring them along, versus saying like, hey, it's okay, I got it. And be able to jump in because they've given what they can give at that time, especially during a pandemic. So as much as my whole life people have been like, you're doing so many things, focus, like come in, and there is real truth to that. There's also some need, at least for me, to be able to pivot and be diverse and put my hands in different areas, because that is what has helped me survive up until this point.
Thank you. Kyle.
Yeah, I think, industry specific, I suppose, but maybe it's just small business specific. I think one of the things that we've learned that will continue going forward is that there are very few specialized jobs, and that everyone has to wear multiple hats. In the restaurant industry, it's not just server, host, bartender, food runner. Everyone plays every role now. And I think that will continue in the service industry. The other thing for us, at least, and I think in the hospitality industry, is that never consider a space without outdoor seating space again. You can't do it. We tried to make it work in Grand Rapids, and if you're landlocked, look elsewhere, I guess.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very true. I think anybody that's going into the food service business right now has got to look at the takeout model, the outdoor seating model, all of that. If you go into it without that, I think you're not doing yourself any favors, for sure. Janay.
So I don't. There's so many things I'm going to take away from this, because we're still in the middle of it. But I think it's. I almost like kind of don't like this word at all anymore because of the whole idea of pivot. But we've had to become more resilient. We've had to adjust, and so often I have a mental model about how things are supposed to go. They're supposed to work. And when they don't, I have a lot of resistance to that, and that I can get in my own way because I'm like, no, we were going to do it this way. We want to build jobs here. We want to do manufacturing. Like we have to keep doing it. And, what I've had to learn was we pivoted into making one product, and we have never made just one product. I've been advised by every business person ever, like, you just need to make one product and make it really well and just sell it and get out there. And as an Enneagram 7 and someone who loves all the ideas, this has been a real struggle for me for a long time, since day one, actually, because I've been like, no, we can do. So it really got drilled into me that, you know, you do want to focus, you want to get deeper into, you know, a few things and do them well. While it might not be one product, you know, again, like it was during this time, for me, it has been a huge takeaway for me to just slow down and just, you know, okay, all right, let's just put our heads down. Let's do this work. Let's figure this out. And it gave us a chance to sort of prove our concept around local production. You know, because when we had 25 people working, we could, you know, make 1,000 masks a day. Like we've never been able to do that kind of volume. And that was huge for us because I've had a lot of people advise me that, you know, I shouldn't start a manufacturing business. I shouldn't do this here. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm never going to make it work by paying living wages. You know, I've gotten all kinds of really bad advice. And, you know, for me, it was this opportunity to, again, prove the concept that you can actually do work domestically. You can do cut and sew. You can honor the people in the process and not be like cogs in the machine the whole time. Yet we can be efficient, produce, and meet a need for our community. So I feel like for us, it was a real activating moment that we were able to come together organically and really showcase the talent that's here and help build the infrastructure for the future. So my hope is that we can build off of this and continue to show that this is something that's really viable in the marketplace and not as a charity, because I believe this is not charitable work. This is about honoring labor and the people who make the things that we use every day. And I think that's worth investing in. So.
Great. Thank you. Well, I'd like to just say thank you to all of you for taking the time this morning. I love the discussion. I think your insights are so valuable and you all, you know, make our community so much better. So, you know, we're not out of the woods yet, but I feel, you know, a little bit hopeful that, you know, things are moving in the right direction. So anyway, thank you for sharing this morning and talk to you soon.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.